Hello everybody. I just wanted to get started on the series that I promised on one of my prior videos that I would do to, just sort of talk more in detail about what I've been doing to lose weight. Since I started on my journey, I've lost right around 65 pounds, so I'm very proud of that. It's been a gradual thing. I kept track of the days and the weight, so I could see, how many pounds I was losing every time I weighed or if I was gaining weight. So I could also tell what I was doing with my diet, what worked and what didn't by tracking my weight this way. So I'm pretty much just going to give you the highlights in a simple format, and maybe at some point I'll do more in-depth videos. Starting off, I was following the raw detox diet, which I shouldn't say following. I had read that book called The Raw Detox Diet by Natalia, and it introduced me to the concept of proper food combinations. So that's what my first video is going to be about, proper food combining. This is a new thing. Maybe some of you have heard about this, maybe some of you have no idea what I'm talking about, but what it basically does is it teaches you which food groups it's okay to eat together. The reason why food combining is important, from all the information that I've read on it, is because your body cannot efficiently digest food if you consume them in an improper combination. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples of some things that are not good combinations. Okay, first and foremost, to me the most important thing and probably the hardest thing for me to adapt was not combining proteins and starches at the same meal. Now, many of you are probably going to say that's crazy because, most everything in the Western diet or the American diet is a combination of meat and bread. Okay, so that's just an example of a protein and a starch at the same meal. So if you eat a sandwich that has meat on it, or if you eat a steak and a potato, or a piece of chicken and a potato, or even a piece of fish and a potato, or any type of starchy vegetable or starchy grain, bread, anything like that you combine with a protein source or a meat source, that is going to actually take a long time to digest and move through your system. The reason being is because whenever you eat a starch and a protein, digestion really begins in the mouth. So if you've ever taken a nutrition class, this is really 101 type of stuff. You can watch YouTube videos about digestion, and they tell you that digestion begins in the mouth. So there's actually enzymes in your body that helps your body break down and use the nutrients in the food that you eat. So there's different types of enzymes that are meant to help you digest starches and proteins. Starches, from what I know, and like I said, I'm not an expert, I've just read a lot of different things, okay, so this is by no means medical advice or anything like that. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the specific names of these enzymes, but they say that starches require a alkali enzyme to digest, and that protein, such as meat, requires an acidic enzyme. So that is sort of the conflicts, because whenever you eat those things at the same time, your body is going to give forth a enzyme that's alkali, and maybe it's going to digest the starch first, and then the meat's going to be sitting there in your stomach, and your stomach is a higher temperature. I can't remember the exact temperature, but I want to say somewhere between like 95 and 98 degrees. I want to say somewhere in that range, which you can do your own research and find out those exact temperatures if you're interested. So any food that you eat is actually going to be sitting in this warm environment in your stomach, and while it's waiting to be digested, it's going to start to petrify. It's going to start to deteriorate. You think about setting food out or leaving food out of the refrigerator, or leaving food out on a hot day, you would never leave your, your lunch on the counter for 8 hours and then go back and eat it, but if it takes, 4 to 8 hours to digest something, think about it sitting in that hot of an environment waiting to be digested by your body. So that's one of the things that can hinder you from having efficient digestion, and efficient digestion is a key to weight loss. The quicker the food moves through your body and your body can use it, break it down, the less energy it has to spend digesting the food, and you actually have more energy to power through your day, more energy to do things, and it just makes you feel a lot better. And me personally, when I adopted these habits of not combining proteins and starches at the same meal, I saw a drastic change in my weight, and I have documented it. Like I said, I weighed on a daily basis. So everything I tried, I could see a difference in what I was eating and how it reflected on the scale. And I could also see a difference in how long it stayed in my body, So I was actually to the point where I could time my meals, almost like a dog, not getting into too much detail here, but almost like your pet. When you feed your pet, you know approximately how long it's going to be before your pet has to eliminate. So, your body is no different than that. Once you get to the point where you're properly combining food, you can almost time your digestion process and time your elimination process to a T, The other thing, second part, we just talked about proteins and starches and how you shouldn't mix them at the same meal. To tell you what would be a proper food combination for those two food groups is combining either of those with cooked or uncooked vegetables. Now, normally, since I have been following a high raw percentage diet, I normally would opt for, raw vegetables. So let's say if I eat a huge salad, I would choose to, if I wanted to eat some starch or some bread or a potato or something, I would not eat meat. I would just eat the potato and the salad. Or let's say if I wanted to do, like a piece of garlic bread or something like that, I wouldn't eat a piece of meat. I would just eat the piece of bread and the salad. Okay, if I wanted some meat, then I would have a salad with some chicken on it. Raw vegetables and a protein at the same meal. Before I would introduce another food group, I would wait at least 4 to 6 hours. So that means if at lunch I wanted to eat starch, let's say I was in the mood for some starchy foods, and at this point in my journey I wasn't really watching what I ate, I was just watching how I combined what I ate. And that's why I said I wasn't really following the raw detox diet, but I was following some of the principles. So let's say if I went to a Mexican restaurant and I wanted to eat a bunch of those little tortilla chips, I just didn't order something with any meat in it. If I'm starting with a starch at my meal, then I don't introduce the protein. I just stick with things like maybe I would get a vegetable burrito, or I would get some rice and beans or something like that. I would stick with the starch instead of introducing the protein. If I started off and I thought to myself, hey, I'm craving some fish, then I would stick with protein and stay away from starch. So that means I wouldn't eat any tortilla chips, any rice, any bread. I would just eat my protein. I would choose a vegetable to go with it, and maybe a cooked vegetable as well, or a salad. I would try to have something raw at every single meal though, and I normally would try to start my meal with that raw element. So if I ate a salad first, that's what I would do. Then I'd have an entree of like maybe steak and broccoli, or steak and asparagus, something like that, or chicken and asparagus, which really I'm not a big red meat eater, but I'm just giving you some examples here, okay? The other thing I wouldn't do with proteins is I wouldn't mix two different types of proteins. And this is also sort of getting a little bit deeper into food combinations. But even though they're both proteins, different types of proteins that are not similar can also hold each other up in the digestion process. So if you're eating like a surf and turf, which is, a wonderful invention, but a digestive nightmare, So if you're eating like a steak and a shrimp, those two proteins are not similar. But if you had, say, some shrimp and some salmon, that might be a better combination. So, this is just sort of an introduction. But if you want to start off small, start there. Don't combine protein and starch at the same meal. Do it for a week, do it for 2 weeks, do it for a month. See how you feel. See if you feel any different as far as your energy level. See if you notice a difference in your digestion process. If you're a person that's prone to having heartburn or gas or those type of things, see if that helps. Because for me personally, it did help. So that's going to be my part 1 of food combining no starches and no proteins. So try that out. Leave me a comment and let me know how it worked for you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 of food combining.